So, I mean, Agegroup has always been kind of around in the club
Yeah,
for a
I
long
thought that's
time.
what it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, so just hearing people, so watching them go to the ITU races and things, and yeah, it was like, right, I want to do that. That looks really, really good. But it was just so difficult. There's so many people, good people, as qualifying. I've always joked that I'll get to the age group, so World Championships in my 80 to 84 age category, just because there'll be no one else.
And that's the voice of Richie Thorpe, this episode's guest. And Richie got in touch via email and said that he would like to come on the podcast and share his story, having just qualified for the first time for Pontevedra 2026. Top fella, really enjoyed chatting to him. Had a great story. Been doing this triathlon, multisport for a long time. He's in a great club down there in London, and yeah, he's got a good story to tell, and he's finally done it. So congratulations to him. And he met and raced against and just got beaten off one of our previous guests, Malcolm Smith. So yeah, that's a really interesting part of his story. So that's coming up. So I'm editing this podcast whilst lying on a hotel bed in just outside Pontevedra, to be honest. We're out about 14k, just along from a little fishing village called Combaro, and we're over here for me personally to race the World Age Group Cross Duathlon. I've done a few cross races in the UK, but never anything at this standard. And the race was yesterday in the mountains, and they had a dam up there where they do all the rowing internationally, and it was a great place to race. The course was hard, very demanding, both the first run of 6k and the bike of 2 laps, 24k in total. And no shame in saying that the bike, some of the climbs, you just had to get off because they were that steep, and loads of people got off. And obviously, because it's mountain bike, and when one person gets off, you've got nowhere to go. You've just got to do the same thing. So sometimes it was because I didn't physically have it in me, but other times it was because that's what everybody was doing, and you had to follow suit. So that was a really, really tough bike course, and on top of that, the temperature was up 27, 28 degrees, but got it done. And then we had a last lap of 4k round the lake, which started off all right, and then towards the end I was just cramping. But at the beginning of the race I had 3 objectives. The first one was to get to the start line fit, to enjoy the race. That was the second. And then the last one was to finish the race without any injuries and fit. So I achieved all those. I also achieved 4th Brit home, and I was 15th in my age group, and I think there was 20 in total. So yeah, I was overall quite pleased and just relieved that I got it done. So that was that. So well done to everybody who was racing, well, for the whole week, to be honest. I met some really nice people. I also met some of the guys that have been on this podcast, and I'm going to give a few a shout out now, those that I can remember. Jason Williams, he finished 4th in his age group, and then I think that was in because he did the sprint duathlon earlier on the week, and then he did the cross duathlon, and he finished, I think, 5th in the cross and 4th in the sprint duathlon. I believe it was that way around. Also, Karina Kaufman, she was doing, like me, the cross duathlon for the first time, and she did really well. I think she finished the aquathon. I'm not sure where Ross came because we haven't looked at any of the results today. And Angela Joyner Hardy, she was also racing. I think she did the sprint duathlon and the cross duathlon, and I know she got silver in the cross duathlon, so well done, Angie. And of course, Kevin Maurice, who's been on the podcast recently. Kev took part in 3 races. He did the off-road cross triathlon. He had a bit of bad luck on that one and pretty much ripped his wheel off, but finished it, got his medal. And then he did the cross duathlon, the race I did. And then he went on later on the week to do the aquathon, which again he completed. So congratulations to Kev. Also Matt Warren, who raced in the World Duathlon Champs beginning of the week, and he finished 14th in the world in his age group, and he was 3rd GB athlete home, so that secured him an automatic qualification place for Abu Dhabi in 2026. So congratulations, Matt. And was there anybody else? Paul Haslam. I saw Paul today. He was doing the aquathon. Not sure again how he did, but it was nice to be able to cheer him on. Oh, and of course, this is a really weird story. You might have seen it on my Instagram page, but if not, we were sat in a restaurant just across the road from our hotel, because yesterday I'd said I didn't want to go walking anywhere because my legs were in bits, so we literally had to just walk across the road to the restaurant, and we were sat down and we were having our meal, and this guy walks in on his own, and it's the American that has been on the podcast, Jeff Schreiber. Out of the blue, he just came in. It's like, what are the odds? And not only that, not only did he just come into the restaurant, he's actually stopping in the same hotel as us. It was just like, you just could not write it. What were the odds? But it was lovely to sit him down and like have a chat to him face to face. You know, we're back and forward on Instagram and following each other, but to actually meet him face to face was really, really nice. Such a lovely guy. And just a big thank you to David Pearson, our cross triathlon manager, who's also been on the podcast, for looking after us all and keeping us on the straight and narrow, and also feeding us water bottles after the first lap of the bike. Much appreciated for all your hard work, David, and well done on your race earlier on the week, because I think David was racing in the sprint duathlon at the beginning of the week. So if I have missed anybody, I do apologise, but I think that was everyone. So yeah, we've had a great week. We've still got a few days left, and then it'll be back to Blighty and back to normality. So we haven't really listened to any podcasts, so I've got no recommendations, and not been watching any TV because we've been too busy on holiday. So on this occasion, those are going to be put to the side, and we'll get on with the main event, which is Richie's story. I hope you enjoy it, and we shall see you on the other side.
I am Richie Thorpe. I live in London, so West London in Twickenham. I'm part of the Thames Turbo Triathlon Club, long-standing member for about 15 years now.
Yeah.
And I work in HSBC. I'm a design, so front-end design. So working in team technology. I think that's my passion, technology. But yeah, I suppose as growing up as a kid, I suppose I grew up in Sheffield,
Right.
a little village called Handsworth, just outside Sheffield. And from a sports point of view, they didn't really have a wide range. It was a comprehensive school, and so it didn't have that much funding. So it was your basics on football, cricket, rounders, a little bit of rugby, but that's it. But one of the things which actually fell into was basketball. So being quite tall, 6'3".
I was going to ask, because I saw that on your email, and I thought, got to ask him how tall he is, because he said he played basketball, and I thought, he's a big lad.
yeah, I'm fair tall. So it kind of like just helps with playing basketball. And so I played through school, and so met some great people. And then through university, I didn't do too much. But yeah, when I came down to London, I started working for British Airways, and they had a basketball team, so I sought them out. Yeah, we often played in the Surrey League or the Middlesex leagues. We weren't the best, but we had fun doing it.
That's the main thing, isn't it? Finding something that you like to do and are passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did. We played abroad. So once we went to Seville and played in the what they call the IATA, so it's International Airlines.
Okay.
That was a different breed. That was really different to how anything happened in the UK. They just let everything, all rules, so out the window. It was ridiculous. Yeah, it's met a lot of people from there. So yeah, my love was sort of basketball back in the 90s, and obviously there's Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and the Bulls, the Spurs, and everything. So it was huge back then, and that's all our school could kind of talk about. If it wasn't kind of Sheffield United versus Sheffield Wednesday, but so yeah, it's basketball was my love.
Yeah, cool. And what position did you play in basketball? And
generally baseline or center. So yeah, try and get the ball to me so I can try and get it. But I mean, although I'm 6'3", there are some big guys.
I say that's not necessarily tall, is it, in basketball?
It's not. Yeah. If you're a pro, you'd be on the wing or a guard or something like that. But yeah, as a kind of a local type team, I was one of the tallest there. I always worked on my gym.
Yeah. So after basketball, then how did that fade out and something else start? What was next?
Oh, the thing that started next was park run,
right?
Which then swiftly went into triathlon. And I tried doing both at the same time because triathlon through spring, summer, autumn, and then the basketball through kind of the winter time. Didn't quite work that way. And I did about one season of doing that, and it's like, okay, I've got a bit of fond farewell to basketball because I kind of started doing triathlon.
And how did you find triathlon then? How did it come across you?
Annoyingly, really difficult. I hated the fact that I couldn't do it, which spurred me on to do it even more.
Well, who told you about it? What was the first? Who was the first person to say, "Have a go at this"? Or
so it turned out my kids were at school, and so we became friends of another family, and so it essentially evolved after a Friday night on the beers. I'm sure a lot of these conversations go of so how did you get into the triathlon? Well, on my fifth beer, we decided to enter an Ironman. No, it was kind of like that. So Martin Hollywood, so part of the Thames Turbo back then, brilliant runner, absolutely amazing, would smash out like 17, 18 minute 5Ks at park run and everything. And he said, "Oh, come down and do park runs." And we're at Bushy Park, so it's like the epicenter of park run. So I went down there, and so that's when I think I did a 10K race before, but never done anything kind of like sort of 5K. And even then, that was kind of more of a fun run type thing. So after a couple of months of going down to park run religiously every Saturday to go and try and beat my time from before, I think at that point they're also giving out free trainers to those people who beat their PB 4 times in a row or something like that. So that a long time ago, 2010. That quickly sort of ran out of steam. I don't think it had enough trainers to give out. And then he said, "Well, if you can run 5K, how's your swimming?" Well, I haven't swum properly since school. I think I got my 200-meter badge. I think that was about it. And it's, I'm sure you could do like 12 lengths of the Hampton Pool, which is an odd number. It's 432 meters. It's 36 meters long. It's weird. So how are you on the bike? Well, I don't have a bike. I had a mountain bike, and he said, well, I'm sure we can find you a bike. And I suppose back in the day, I used to always knock about on a bike. So I've never entered any races or anything like that. But yeah, generally, if I went out on an evening, so it'll be with friends, it'd be kind of knocking about and such, going on such trails and things like that. So I thought, right, I'm confident on the bike. That's fine. And then I had to train, and so this is about March, and I went down to watch the first race. So Thames Turbo at that point had 4 races a year on the bank holidays, so a big club. So I just thought, okay, I'll just watch, and I thought, okay, I can do this, I think, but I need to be able to swim. And so I can remember the first time I got in a pool and tried swimming 400 meters. And no word of a lie, I clocked 22 minutes, 400 meters. That was awful. That was truly awful.
But then why would you expect anything else? You know what I mean?
Well, this is true, yes.
To actually get through and do 400 meters in one go is like a feat for most people, isn't it? Without stopping, doing front crunches. Yeah.
Well, I suppose that was the thing. I think I did like 2 lengths because my technique was so bad. I had to take about 30 seconds rest at the end, and then do another 2 lengths, another 30 seconds rest, and then it just became 1 length and 30 seconds rest, another 1 length and a minute rest, and so just the time just ate away. But I managed to get some kind of training in, so during the club, and by the time the first race came round, I really enjoyed the experience and frustrated about the fact I thought in my head I would have been quicker. And so that was like, okay, I need to train, and this is what I do. So one of the things was the club was so welcoming. It's Thames Turbo was one of the best. I'm going to promote that, I've got to say. They are so welcoming, and there's so many different people who join, athletes who are absolutely incredible athletes, just first-time people like myself, and everyone in between. And it's so inspiring to see how some people progress through. Like one of the guys who's joined this year hasn't done any triathlons previously, but is a really good runner. He's just done Cairns and just qualified for Nice. Right. He's just, and so a big part of that is kind of joining the club and everything. But yeah, he's got to say, first race was interesting, and I did find a bike. I bought a second-hand Planet X bike that someone was selling locally, so I used that and not my mountain bike.
Probably a wise move.
Yes, I think so.
So did you find, it's because being so big, did you find it a struggle to find a bike? It was all right, actually. I think the Planet X that I got was an extra large, so that was okay. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not so tall that I have to get like a 60 centimeter frame or anything like that. I ride a 58, or I think my TT's a 56 possibly.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was kind of all right at the time.
Yeah, and not wanting to dwell on your size, but what do you find being a big guy? What do you find the most difficult out of the 3? The swim, the back, swimming. Well, that's from a technique point of view, isn't it? I guess.
I think technique point of view, but also I drag my legs so badly, and I know that's more of a male thing as well. But I think because I'm quite lean, I don't have the muscle to keep my position in the water.
Right.
And no matter what I do, I try to keep the head down, push the chest into the water, rotate, don't pull too quickly, kick. I'm atrocious at kicking. At one point, I was kicking, and the coach said, "You're not moving anywhere," but I'm kicking furiously. I think he said, "I think you're moving backwards." So it was, it's all about technique. But obviously, when you're swimming, I do sprints and Olympics. So when you sprint doing 1,500 meters and have an inefficient kick, it actually wears you out more. So I've taught myself to do a 2 beat kick, and so it just allows me just enough to keep my legs up. The rest is helped by a very good wetsuit.
Yeah, I think only have to look at the pros, and they're not big kickers, are they? You know what I mean? It's
No.
like you just said, it's a two beat kick generally because they want to save themselves for what's to come, don't they?
Oh, completely. But even when you look at Katie Ledecky, she's got a two beat and three beat, so doing 1,500 meters in a pool.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's really interesting.
yeah.
I think you need to kind of have the kick technique to kind of help, and yeah, I struggle with that, I've got to say.
I think there's a difference between swimmers and triathlete swimmers, isn't there? Proper swimmers and people who do triathlon, then, should we say?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe we need to settle from Lucy Charles.
Yeah. She was on it at the weekend, wasn't she? Again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, really good race that. So you're finding swimming's the most difficult. That's, I think, most people who haven't swam when they were children, religiously, and we all do, don't we? It's just that technical part is just so hard to grasp, especially as you get older as well. Don't come into swimming till you're older, then it's just so hard for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And I made sure my kids, as I went through Thames Turbo juniors, and so it's like, if it's the one thing you're going to learn, it's to learn how to swim.
Yeah.
Because as learning, as they say, at a young age, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
But you're right about the technical abilities or the technical side of swimming, because cycling and running, you push harder, you go faster. It's simple as that. But with swimming, you push harder, you nearly drown. So it's very.
Yeah.
I think for the past, 18 months, I've really focused on my swim and thinking, what is it that I'm doing or doing wrong? So what about the catch? What about the pull through, the push, the rotation? And kind of started virtually from scratch again. And now it seems to be, because at one point I was about as fast as what I am now, but I always had shoulder problems. And that must have been down to poor technique at the time. I was just muscling my way through the water. Now I say I'm swimming at the same pace and I don't get the same shoulder problems anymore. So I'm hoping that my technique is better. I'm putting in some good times or better times than I used to anyway. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. So I haven't been running recently as much. So that's the next thing. I need to focus on that.
That's the thing about triathlon in general, isn't it? You focus on, quite rightly so, like you said, about the swimming being your weakest, but then something else has got to give. So if you're spending more time in the pool, one of the others has got to give, hasn't it? And it's it's just the way it is, really. And then I think I don't know about you, but running, I don't seem to lose. If I don't run for as long, I don't seem to lose as much as if I stop swimming altogether. And I'd lose. It would take me a lot longer to get the swim back than it would the run back.
It feels like you only need to miss about 2 or 3 weeks of swimming, and it's knocked you back 3 months.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not just.
No. I think if you're a swimmer, then yes, it's like you could be out for 3 weeks and you just come back straight into it. But yeah, I think as a non-swimmer, it's difficult. You lose a couple of weeks and it sets you back along much further. It feels.
So how did it continue then after you'd done your first triathlon? You obviously got the bug for it. You wanted to get better. You joined the club, and you've progressed. You've been doing it now since 2010, like you said. So how's that journey been?
It's been varied.
And what have you done in that time? And
so I think it was 2012. I've got keep all my numbers somewhere. I think in 2012, I did the WTS sprint in Hyde Park. I think it was 2012, and so that was like one of the big races that I did. So it went like likes of Helen Jenkins were racing, and back then, and obviously the Brownlees at the Olympics, and things. So triathlon was big in the early 2010s. It was huge, and so there was no shortage of brilliant people in and around. So the London leagues and everything. So you just saw these people that are disappearing off and sort of racing for the worlds in kind of sprints and Olympics. And bizarrely, my wife was going through a notebook that she found just recently, about 6 months ago. And it was actually from that time. And she said, things that you want to do. And it's like, one thing was for me was to qualify for the Worlds. And it still hadn't changed. But it's because of the club we ran, so the club series. So kind of we'd have a sprint and a standard, a duathlon, a 10K. And so, it's a bit of a club championship, basically. And so that kept everyone going, and so I just found that it was fun. So to be able to train with people, I had to balance that. I had 2 young kids at the time, so when I joined, I think they were about 5 and 6, I think, at the time. So when I used to play basketball, I trained twice a week and we had a match. So I said, okay, well, I'll do the same with triathlon. Everything else, I'll just have to fit around work. The weekends were for the kids and the family. So I never went out on long bike rides, and everything was getting a turbo train out at 5 o'clock in the morning and then try and do a hard session, quick shower as I go to work, and so make sure everything's okay. So I do a run at lunchtime. And then the 2 swims was a Monday, Tuesday and Thursday. So it was all kind of time crunch triathletes. And
as most working people are, aren't they? It's you family life, work life comes first, and then it's what time you've got left to fit triathlon in trade, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and you can go a bit far. I definitely thought, well, kind of saw that, okay, I need to pare things back a little bit. But yeah, in the meantime, it was what have I done? So I suppose 2012, 13, 14 was just kind of trying to improve on all aspects. One of my goals was to go sub 20 at Bushy Park, and that took a while to do, but I finally got there. So about 2016, 17, I think that was maybe the last time I actually went sub 20 at 5K. But then joined the kind of the race team at Thames Turbo. So and then came second in the London League for my age group in, I think, 2017. So really pleased with that. But then COVID hit, and then in 2020 it wasn't diagnosed, but I'm pretty sure I got long COVID. And it was a good 6 weeks. Sorry, not 6 weeks, 6 months before I could actually just get back to any kind of training what I had before. It felt like it was mid-April, and it weren't giving out any tests to the public. It was all NHS frontliners, as it should have been. But from having conversations with other people since then, all the symptoms were exactly the same as what they've had with long COVID. And it's a real tightening around the chest. And I couldn't take my heart rate above 150 until because it started hurting. So all training kind of took a nosedive. And up to then, 2018, 2019, I focused on marathons, did a couple of marathons. So that I was fairly fit. And to have something which kind of knocks you off your feet within 2 or 3 weeks, and you think, okay, I've just had a cold, that's fine, and you just can't get back into it. It's awful. It's really it's difficult to comprehend how much you lose so quickly when you think you should be able to do something. I've got a very good friend of mine who's still suffering from the effects of long COVID after 2 years. It's an awful disease that people are having to face with. Not so much just because I like running, or cycling. So it's quite debilitating in some times. So I had to kind of restart a little bit and learn how to hurt in a good way on the bike and for the run, and not just like sort of my chest tightened and things like this. And it took a while. And so obviously didn't swim. Was focused on cycling and running. But I was really kind of not entering races. And then someone said, "Do you fancy doing a relay for a Roth?" And part of our club, there's around about 20 of club members go each year. In order, we've got a really good relationship with Felix at Roth, and so he kind of helps us out and so it gives us a few early doors, and they always go. Always, we generally have about, I think, 10 or 12 people doing the individual, and then we'll have 3 relay teams went. And I went. Well, actually, I booked in to do 2022, but then they had to cancel because of COVID. And then so I went in 20. Oh, was it 21? No, 21. That was cancelled. I went in 22, and it was absolutely roasting hot. It was like 30 degrees on the bike, and but it was an amazing day, and what a festival of a race. Have you done, Rob?
Never done it, but I've heard lots of people talk about it and how, it's like the bike especially is like riding in the Tour de France. The crowds are that thick. Yeah.
It's when you go solar, it's like 10 people deep, and the noise is absolutely magnificent. And as you go around, you barely go through a village that it hasn't got someone outside cheering you on, generally with a beer in their hand, because they know that it's such a big race, and that the race gives back to the community as well. And so everyone's very, very welcoming with it. And the roads are fantastically just smooth and perfect. So some really good fast times there. But because it is South Germany, it gets super hot, and then the wind starts to blow. And because we're in the relay, all the individuals go first, and then about 7:30, they leave an hour, I think, difference or something like that. So your first swimmer's going about 8:15, 8:30. So by the time you're actually on the bike, it's like nearly 10 o'clock, and you've got like 4 or 5 hours on the midday sun. And at one point, I just looked down and I thought, this sun is directly above me, and I'm absolutely baking. But the best thing about it was crossing the line with your team into their stadium, and it's dark. The music's blaring out, and it's fantastic. Just be able to cross that line. It's and it's such a spectacle. It's a great one. If anyone's listening, Rothies definitely should be on your bucket list if you do Ironman distance, or even a relay.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the beauty of events, isn't it? Because you can, if you don't want to do the whole thing, you can do a relay, can't you? And be part of it and experience it. If long distance isn't your thing, you could go and do the swim, or do a run, or like you did do the bike. It's really, really cool. So well done.
Thank you. And so I did that a couple of times, and that was really good. And I went 3 years in a row. The last year was just to go and support, because being part of the relay, you don't get to see the pros go off or see them on course or anything like that. Last year I just went to just hang out and support the team, or all those who went out. I became more of a support person and like maintenance than actually racing. I thought maybe I should actually start racing again.
So how did that come about? How did you start?
So last year I did Windsor, just because it was it's a big race. And I think that's I did the ETU qualifier at Dorney, and I thought, right, I'll give this a crack. I did Windsor first, and then Dorney came out.
Was that sprint or was it standard?
It was sprint. Yeah. And so as I'm kind of looking at the participant list, and then I noticed that Stuart Hayes, great, he's in my age group. Right, so I've got so he threw his hat into the ring, and then I think on the day, two guys from GTN rocks up, so Mark Threffel and James Kumana. so,
Yeah.
so I thought James was in my age category. I think he's just a bit younger, but we all started together. And yeah, it was eye opening on how fast these guys are. So really, really. Again, my swim wasn't great. I held my own on the bike. I was only kind of, I think, a minute and a half down on the fastest guys, which I thought was all right.
Very good.
And the run was okay, but equally, I was still. I came 15th in my age category at that point in time, and I was only kind of like, I don't know, 6 or 7 minutes behind, so the winner. But you can just imagine how many people have gone through that. But I think my soul was slightly destroyed when I saw Stuart Hayes rock up. I thought, this is just what I need, isn't it? Maybe I should have chosen Dawn to try and be to get into the ETU.
Yeah. So just going back then, how did you find out? I probably know the answer to this. How did you find out about age group?
So I mean, age group has always been kind of around in the club.
Yeah, I thought that's what it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, so just hearing people, so watching them go to the ITU races and things, and yeah, it was like, right, I want to do that. That looks really, really good. But it was just so difficult. There's so many people, good people, as qualifying. I've always joked that I'll get to the age group, so World Championships in my 80 to 84 age category, just because there'll be no one else, maybe. But yeah, a lot of the club members were kind of racing at that level. And it was interesting how triathlon's kind of changed since then. Because when I joined, it's like everyone said, right, sprints, push yourself for Olympics. I thought, okay, that's absolutely fine. And then you get some people who start talking about half Ironman. I said, oh, that's really pushing the boat out. And then all of a sudden, the odd one or two may go to do Ironman. But it wasn't until kind of, I think, 2010, just when I joined, actually, the big group cohort went to Copenhagen. And that was huge. I think it was about 35, 40 of turbos went out. It was massive. But then you didn't hear about people doing Ironman after that. And then 2012, I think it happened again. It was quite a big group. But again, Ironman was kind of like that scary distance that not many people did. And just now, it's like people will come to the club and say, "Oh, hey, yeah, I've booked for Bolton. Yeah, how many triathlons you done? No, I've done one before. So yeah, I'm just going to give it a crack." It's seemingly, I think, because so many people are doing ultras and long distance running, long distance cycling, swimming across the channel. You just see all these celebrities doing all these challenges, and I think people just throwing their hat into the ring. And so I absolutely credit to you, but it can be quite damaging. So but it was interesting how it shifted from such short course triathlon back in those days. And so duathlon, my very first race was the duathlon at Kempton Park, full on tri. I think they put it on. And that was harder than the first sprint triathlon that I did. Two legs of them. Yes, it is, yeah. But yeah, back then it was all about short course, and then a lot more people have been doing that longer and longer as it went through.
So you will have had, with it being such a big club, you'll have had an abundance of knowledge in age group then, if there's quite a few people doing it, to go and find out and suss out what it was all about and how you had to go and register and find a race and, all those sorts of things.
Back then, I was just in awe of the people who did it. And I was always, this time next year, I'll go and qualify. It never quite happened. I was never quite good enough to do that. And I think when I started in the race team development squad at the time, we were more focused on the London League, so that kind of didn't really come up. And then after that, I did a couple of marathons, as I mentioned, and it's only kind of just come back to me that I was like, I still have that dream of actually qualifying, and I still want to do that. So I didn't have a clue how to register, and one of the guys at the club, Ed, he's a very good athlete. He races a lot in ETU and Worlds as well. And he just guided me. He said, right, this is what you need to do. Take a look at these racers. Be careful of these athletes. So get a shout out to Ed Buckley, and also James Drake. He's been really helpful with a number of things so to do with this. But it's not the easiest thing to navigate. I've got to say, you got to enter this, you got to register for that. It's a little bit daunting just to actually sign up for these things sometimes.
Yeah, I think your training buddy, teammate Ed Buckley, he had it spot on, because it's quite unless you're very, very good, you know what I mean, like top of your age group, it can be quite calculating how you qualify. I've found over the years, if you're middle of the pack and you wanna place, you maybe not get a Q position, but you might get a roll down. It's quite calculating how you can achieve that, and it is achievable by several things, isn't it? By choosing the right race, looking who's, like you said, looking who's in those races, looking at the course. Is the course going to suit you? Is there another championship on elsewhere that's going to take a lot of people away from that qualify? All these things come into play, and it helps when you want to try and qualify. And I think people who are new to it don't, and why should they? They don't comprehend that. They don't get that yet.
Completely. The technicalities of it's not just about going up into a qualifying race and trying to do your best. As you say, there's all those aspects of it. It's you got to be in it to win it, but hopefully that all your competitors aren't in it at the same time.
Yeah.
And a very good friend of mine, met her through the club. She qualified for Kona by flying all the way down to South Africa and doing Ironman South Africa down there just in order to qualify.
Yeah.
She did like the heat, and so she was absolutely fine. So doing that, but yeah, it's like that's going quite to the extreme. I didn't think that I had to do that kind of thing.
But why would you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it didn't occur. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you say, going on and registering and everything else, it's not as straightforward as it. I don't know how they could make it any better, but it's not as straightforward as you think. And I think for each different event, like you've done the aquabike recently, haven't you? It's different ways of qualifying as well, isn't it? It's some have races, some you just submit times. So yeah,
I hadn't heard of submitting times until recently. I thought really that was a thing. Still confuses me because I didn't do it. I kept short course. The whole difference between Ironman distance and long course distance and things like this, and the different organisations which run it and things like that, it still confuses me now. But yeah, it can. Yeah, that website could be updated a little bit. I am in UX, so maybe I should give them a hand.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So what was next then?
So that was kind of I did the ETU qualifying race. Training is a lifestyle now. It's not. I just enjoy. I just know that Tuesdays, Thursdays, I go swimming. So Sundays I go for a ride. Saturday I might do pad run or go to swim, and I'll just have other sessions throughout the week. It's just what I do now. So I found myself doing a lot of training and not very racing. not much racing. I do the odds 10k cross country down in Surrey Hills, G3. That's pretty good fun. I did try the what was it? The Cambridge cycling a Gran Fondo qualifier a few years ago. But because it was the last one and the World Championships was in Glasgow, every man and their dog turned up. And so someone said that if you average about 23, 24 miles an hour, you'll be good for a qualifying spot. You need to be in top 25% to do that. We did average 24 miles an hour, and we were in the top 50%. Just everyone turned up because they just wanted to be in the World Championships in Glasgow. It was so close. And then that was the last one. They shut down the race, which was a shame. But the closest one would be Ironman or something. But yeah, so I've always kind of wanted to represent Team GB in some way, shape, or form. I can absolutely count that it will never be for swimming. So it definitely has to be for multisport. So then it was knowing that I was a little bit ill over winter, again, some kind of virus or something over Christmas. I thought, right, my run's not on, but I'm working on my swim, and I know my cycling's pretty strong. So let's have a look at this aqua bike. I'd heard about people racing an aqua bike and qualifying in aqua bike. I thought that might be a best opportunity for it. So this first half of the year, very little running. I do have a coach, and so she probably despairs about the fact that I hardly run. But yeah, lots of swimming, lots of cycling. And then entered Diva, which I'd already heard was a really good course. Other people have done Diva from the club, so I've driven all the way to Chester. But it was a great course. The swim was a little bit of a battle in the river, but yeah, the road is the bike course is really nice, really nice. A little bit undulating, but a fast run back in again.
Yeah. And how did you get on?
I would like to say I qualified.
And was that an outright queue, or was it a roll down, or how?
It was an outright queue, yeah. Which, being myself, I'm quite analytical, so so which triathlete isn't? I was looking at who'd registered, and I thought that only 5 of us had registered, but I realised when I finished that actually 6 people had, and the person I had missed had actually won it, or won from my age category anyway. I forgot what his name is now. Matthew Jones, I think. Yeah. So I had no expectations. I thought, okay, originally I just thought only the top 2 people qualified, but then Ed corrected me and said, no, top 4. Yeah. And it's in my head, it was going to be 115% for the roll down. And actually, it's changed recently to 120%. So all these things I didn't realise. I thought, okay, that gives me a good shout. One of the guys who used to be in the club, and he's still kind of an associate member, was a very good swimmer and even better cyclist. And I saw that he'd actually entered. I thought, no, this can't be true. I haven't heard from him for years, and now he turns up at my race that I want to try and qualify in. Shout out to Richard Lake. But unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it. So, I mean, not sorry, Richard, but hey, cheers for me. So yeah, headed to Chester. Myself and my wife. Unfortunately, she wasn't well that weekend either, so she spent most of the time in the hotel room. Bless her. But yeah, so went down, kind of registered on the morning, so I racked the bike, and I had a mental list. Not a very good one, admittedly, of who was racing, who registered, and what their numbers were. And they were kind of very similar to mine. And I couldn't find anyone. When I was racking the bike, I couldn't see anyone. It's like top 400. It was like 487 I was, and it's like from like 486 to 501. It's like no one, absolutely no one. I thought, okay, well, there's no point even like trying to figure out. Briefing down at the river, and looking at the river, there's just the odd log or twig, like bobbing up and down. It didn't look like it was flowing very fast. And when we were in the water, it's like, yeah, we're not having to like swim. It's like when we've done Windsor, you're having to swim back to the start line because the river's already taking you down. It's like 50 meters virtually. But it wasn't like that at all. But everyone said afterwards that was a real bun fight, and the current was just so much stronger than we actually realised. So yeah, that was really interesting. It's 850 meters upstream and then 650. I've never swum so fast when we're coming back down with the flow. I look at my stats on Training Peaks. It's like, yep, that's the turn point. I think I was doing like 2 minute 10, it's like going up or something like that, and then 1 minute 25 going back down again or something. Out of the water, and it's a tough transition. You have to sort of run up a fairly steep bank, and then up steps,
right,
in order to get to the transition. It reminded me when I did London one time. You come out of the docks and you have to literally go up like 2 or 3 flights of steps in order to get to transition. Jumped on the bike. I thought, right, okay, here we go. So I've been working hard on the bike, and soon found out it was super windy. And as you went out, it was just full on headwind. And so I was just like, well, just hold on as much as you can and go. And I thought, right, I know what power I want to ride to. I know what my heart rates are, and I just do as best you can. 15k, something like that, just before the main climb. It's not a hilly course. There's a 250 meters climbing, so it's not that hilly. About 15k, and just before the hills start, I see this guy come past, and I clocked his number, and I thought, that's one of my guys, isn't it? And I'd not actually figured. I'd never thought, what if this happens? And it caught me off guard. I thought, do I go with him? And he came past me at a fair rate. I thought, I don't know. What do we do now? And we came to the hill pretty quickly. I was like, all right, I'll give it a nudge and see how this goes. But he was smaller than me, lighter, obviously a little more powerful, and started to climb up the hill. I thought, well, I can still see him. It's fine. And then it started to descend, and I came back at him, and weight being on my side, and I think a little bit more aero as well, I managed to get past him. I thought, great, here we go. Next climb comes up, he comes past me. And we played this cat and mouse yo-yo. I think I counted back. I think we did about 7 or 8 times throughout the race. Each time there was an incline, he would come past me. Every time there's a downhill or a false flat, I would be able to come past him. And there was one point, I think, because now we've got the tailwind, so we did, and after the hills, we'd done most of the course coming back, so another 15k to go. And I came past him. I think I may have caught him by surprise, but I thought, right, that's it. Put a bit of a hammer down and try and drop him and just see what I can do. And I didn't see him at all until I came into transition. And the thing that I was thinking was, don't fall off the bike when you come off. I always try and practice this, no matter when I'm pootling around on my bike and try and do a dismount. So don't fall off. You just hammered your legs, and getting off the bike and into T2, because that was an interesting thing. I've heard that aqua bikes have an individual finish line, and you just ride over the finish line, and that's it. And this wasn't. You had to go in, rack your bike, and then run to the run out T2 in order to then stop the clock. jumped off the bike. My legs were absolutely screaming because I hadn't run off the bike in months. And I just looked behind me and I saw this guy's tri-suit, and he was only about 5 meters behind me. I thought, damn it, he's right there. And so I'd racked at the end of the racking because it was closest to the bike. Always been taught that. Went up, put the bike on the rack, tripped over someone's wetsuit, stumbled a little bit. At that point, he came flying past me, and we both sprinted to the line, but he was 2 seconds in front of me, which is a real shame. But I knew that I'd given it all as what I could have given, and I just laughed as I ran over, and we gave each other a big sort of high five on the other, and just said, so that was a really good race, because the back and forth of it was nothing that I've ever done before. And I say, what do I do? I've not even been in this situation ever. And I thought, and Ed popped back into my head at that point. And he said, you've got to go hard. So I was like, right, okay. And I think in the club we do Friday night pace line, and that is a really hard. It's like 3-4 person, 55k, an hour and a half of just absolutely going as hard as you can. So I thought, right, well, I've done that a fair few times. I'm just going to have to go into the red. Unfortunately, those 2 seconds, I just didn't quite get it. But that was Malcolm, as it was.
Was it Malcolm?
It was Malcolm.
Oh, bless.
Yeah. And so we had a really good conversation afterwards. And just the laugh of us coming past each other, sort of all the way through the bike section. And then we got the results through, and he was second in age group, and I was third in age group. Awesome. The guy who won was a good few minutes ahead of us. But yeah, us two being kind of second and third, was really pleased with that. So pleased. I thought that I might have a chance of maybe a fourth or fifth, but I never ever thought that I'd come in third. And I was looking at the people, and obviously, scouring different previous races. So what's Malcolm done? I think Andrew Borner was another one, another Glenn Willis or something like that. All these people's names, I was looking at their previous results. Am I good at a better swimmer, or am I worse? And it's like, I don't know. I just have to roll the dice. And I think I just had a good day. Yeah. That's for sure. I would have loved it even I just got the roll down. But to come third, I was ecstatic. Absolutely so pleased.
Well, congratulations. You couldn't have been beaten by a nicer bloke, by the way.
Yeah,
really nice.
Malcolm's a lovely guy. Lovely
really
guy.
Nice chap.
I should say full name, Malcolm Smith.
Yeah, Malcolm Smith. I think there's a few things to unpick there. I think just going back to what struck me when you said about not running and your coach not being very happy. But to me, just listening to this, it's like I always say on the podcast, you've got to play to your strengths to be able to qualify. And if that's like now you found aquabike, then that's absolutely fine. Why would you want to go and run if you're going to be focusing on aquabike? It's all right to keep your hand in if you like doing it, but if you really want the prize, then you've got to focus, haven't you? You've got to do what you've done.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely. I'm not. I'm doing my coach a disservice. So she's absolutely brilliant. She's been coaching me for absolutely years. And she knows Helen Smith, by the way, and she knows that I had a young family because my kids are grown up and moved out now, and I don't do long course, and work gets in the way, and she's been absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it's always that kind of thing of putting a run in. Yeah, I missed the run this week, but as you say, you play to your strengths. And if you're going for an aquabike, she keeps telling me to do core and I keep missing that. So maybe I need to work on
Well,
that.
as we're getting older, it's like core strength, um, yoga, and that sort of thing becomes more and more important. Um, and we don't really think about it until we do hit a certain age, and then you think, yeah, there is something in this. If you want
Yeah,
longevity
definitely.
in this type of sport that we do, then you need to be strong, don't you? You need to have that strength and the cause. I mean, you need that for the bike, don't you? And for swimming, actually, you need a good core for swimming, don't you?
Yeah, seemingly I have the bike core, but not the swim core.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a fantastic story. It's so good, and especially that the other thing I was going to say is it's quite disappointing that the bike didn't finish on the bike because at the end of the day it's an aqua bike. It's not an aqua bike and then a little run to the finish, is it? It's an aqua bike. That's we were just at Pamplona. My wife, she's the manager of the aquathon team,
Okay, yeah.
the European aquathon team. So we were over there in Pamplona, and she was running the team. And there was an aqua bike on at the weekend, as well as a middle distance triathlon. And they had their own line. That was done after they'd come across the line on the bike. That was it. They were finished. They didn't have to run or rack the bikes or anything. So I think that's how it should be, really.
I say it's the first time I've ever actually been in a aquathlon. Sorry, aqua bike. And one of the guys in the club here, he'd been in Pamplona for the aqua bike there,
All
and
right,
he
yeah.
said, yeah, it's just the bike and then bike finish. That's it. So I mean, I'm not arguing.
Oh no,
I'm
yeah,
very happy to be beaten by Malcolm, who's
yeah.
and a very nice
Yeah,
guy.
absolutely brilliant. Well, that's fantastic. Fantastic, like I say, fantastic story. So, do you know where you're going to be racing then for that?
Pontevedra. It's be 2026. So I've got the qualifying email, which is great.
Yeah, nice to get, isn't it?
Yeah, but the date is TBD, so I have no idea when that's going to be.
Right, cool. Well, like I say, congratulations. All hard work's paid off, and plenty of strength paid off. Yeah, great to see.
I now get to wear that Team GB suit. That's all I wanted. Just a
Yeah.
Team GB suit. I'll wear it once, and then I'll pin it up on the wall and remind me what I used to be
No,
able
you'll try and qualify in something else.
to do.
Once you've been and you've got the bug, you'll want to do it again. I can guarantee you'll want to do it again.
Fine, okay.
And why not? Right, so all we've got left is the quick fire round questions. And the
Okay.
first one is, what's your favourite bit of kit?
Oh, favorite bit of kit. I mean, eating. No, I love cycling. So I have an Argon 18 E119 time trial bike, which I absolutely love. I keep forgetting how much I love riding it. So it disappears away for the summer. It stays on my turbo, and then during the winter, and then during the summertime, so be able to just like get out on it. Yeah, that's one of my favorite pieces of kit.
And you saying earlier on that you love technology. So
Yeah,
I've got
yeah.
a question for you then. So how's technology and your love of it helped you do our multi-sport?
Well, it's like you name the gadget, I probably got it. Yeah, I'm a Garmin fanboy, so I've got everything linked up to that. Heart rate monitors, watch, head unit, um, power meter. I love stats, so there's anything. I'll look at anything to see how I can improve. It might not improve me, but yeah, it's how you use it, and so a power meter is not going to get you strong. You have to put the effort in, but it will guide you to help you how you to get there. So yeah, I do. I'm a technical fanboy. Yeah, I love all the numbers. That's for sure.
Yeah, and like you say, it does help. You shouldn't like get hung up on it, obviously, but it does help, especially when you've got power for your bike, because it can stop you going over, can't it? Rather than pushing
Yeah,
it too much. If you've been training at a particular power, and that's where you
you can do your best work, then you know if you go over that. It's like the cyclists, isn't it? The pro cyclists. They don't go in the red. They'd rather drop back and not be up there rather than blow up. And I guess that's the same, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Although if you look at Pogacar, seemingly it's like he can never blow up. He just take it even further and further.
Yeah, but he's
But
an alien, isn't he? Not human.
seemingly he's incredible. But I think going back to numbers, it also can help of, if your power's down, your heart rate is up. That tells you that something's wrong. Maybe you're overtraining, or you're just ill. You're not under the weather, and that's where I know what top and bottom ranges of things, and it's like if it's outside of that, I've got to kind of think what's going wrong here. Maybe take a couple of rest days or something like that. So it's really important just to keep you in check. That's for sure.
Do you use HRV at all?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
And it's not so far as I live by it all the time. I think it's an interesting number to track. Some people say that when you're ill, your HRV drops. I generally find it's when I'm dehydrated, and therefore heart rate increases overnight, and therefore the HRV drops as well. So if Tuesday swim is a big swim, and we finish at 10 o'clock, so I'm always wired by midnight, and so going to bed dehydrated, the HRV will drop. Or on a Friday and Saturday night when I've had quite a few beers, and so the HRV will drop again, or bad night's sleep and things like that. So I don't live by it. It's nice to see when the HRV is stable. And as I say, other people can see a HRV drop and know that they're going to be ill in the next couple of days. So that's not really happened to me, but yeah, it's interesting how that's becoming a new thing, especially with Whoop. And they're targeting kind of that, so like rest days and things like this.
Yeah. I think it's it's like everything, isn't it? It's a good guide. It's a good. You don't get hung up on it, but it's a good guide. Like power, like heart rate, they're all good to watch and good to know where your norm is, where you should be, and anything just not quite right, then you're aware, aren't you? So.
Yeah, completely. Although, and going back to my coach, sometimes she'll just say, right, don't look at your watch. Go out, 30 minutes, tempo, and just don't look at your watch. And sometimes having that freeness of not having to look at what pace you're hitting for the next 5 minutes or so, however long, and what's your heart rate, and just go out and run.
Messes with your head when you come in though, and you've got no data to look at.
I still started.
Have you ever tried running without it? That's what I'm saying. Running without it, quite freeing at the time, and you feel wonderful, but you feel a bit discombobulated when you come back and you've got no Strava. And
well, that's it. If it's not a Strava, it didn't happen, right?
True. What does a week of training look like for you?
All right, okay. So Monday's core. So today has been in the gym. Then Tuesdays we've got a club swim. So that's an hour and a half, generally about 3.5K swim. Wednesday will be a bike session on the Turbo, or it's sunny outside. So during the summer months, maybe going to Richmond Park. That's really quite close. So that's quite a nice ride around there. Minding the deer. Thursday again is a club swim. So that's an hour. So again, probably 2.5K, 3K. Friday go for a run, maybe, or another bike possibly. And then Saturday, it depends, it varies. So we go for a lake swim in the summer, or we go for a swim at Hampton Pool, and then possibly do park run. So double up on that day, and then a long bike where maybe a flat ride over to Windsor or hit the Surrey Hills, something like that. The club generally, or sometimes, because in summer months a lot of people are going longer, so they'll go all the way out to Henley Marlow, which is again a pretty flat route. To say you're going to be clocking up 120, 130k. Yeah. So generally, I'll take a rest day off during the week, something like that, and move things around. But yeah, generally, so one session a day is my average.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. And finally, we know that you've qualified now for 2026. What are your longer term goals going forward? What do you want to achieve?
I I haven't thought that far. As I say, I've achieved my lifelong goal, or my goal from 10 years ago. So I'll qualify. I've not even thought about so what next. Um, what next? I would love to sort of run better. I'm really pleased with the power on the bike and how I'm swimming right now. We could always run faster, sort of swim faster and cycle faster. But yeah, my running, it will be kind of longer term goals. Uh, yeah, some of the guys in the club are phenomenal athletes, guys and girls, absolutely brilliant, and they inspire me of just how well they can just pull these things together. And we've had a few people go to Kona, go to Nice, and racing at the World's ETU. And yeah, just be able to run as fast as those guys. Yeah, I would love to do that. I will never do it. I know that, but I can at least strive to do that. So yeah, I think just improve. That's my long term goals. Just improve.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you ever so much for sharing your story. It's been brilliant talking to you and listening to it. It's really, really entertaining.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So there he goes. A big thank you for Richie once again for reaching out and wanting to come on the podcast. And thank you to Malcolm for recommending us. Much appreciated. We're always looking for guests, as I always say. And it was really great to chat. And good luck with your race in 2026 in Pontevedra. We will be following what you're doing on Instagram and keeping an eye on how it's all going. If you'd like to come on the podcast, please do get in touch. You can email us at agegroupmultisportpodcast@gmail.com. You can get in touch with us on all the socials through Age Group Multisport Podcast. If you search that, you'll find us on Instagram, Facebook. We have our own YouTube channel, AmpGB, where there are all the podcasts and loads of video footage, shorts of my training, which over the last few months has been leading up to the race that I've just done, as well as some 5 benefits of videos and other things. And early doors we had some age groupers were sending in videos as well, so lots on there to have a look at. And I think that's about it for this episode. If you could please share with like-minded people in your team or people you train with, just get the word out there that we are here and we have these fantastic guests on every fortnight sharing the stories. It would be much appreciated if you could leave a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. That would be great. And if you've got any comments, you can leave them on any of the social medias and or send us an email. That would be cool. So thank you once again for listening, and we shall see you next time. Don't forget, stay safe, keep training, and love the process.